Fight fans, welcome to the PBC podcast, brought to you by Premier Boxing Champions with your host, Kenneth Bouhaire and Michael Rosenthal.
Welcome, everyone, to the PBC podcast. I'm Kenneth Bouhaire, and he is USA Today boxing junkie editor Michael Rosenthal. Please forgive the sore throat this week. It's been quite a crazy past few days, but we've got a lot to get to, so I'm going to power through. Middleweight contender Sergiy Derevyanchenko will join us today, as well as 154-pound contender Terrell Gausha, and we're going to share our PBC top 5 under 25 in the toe-to-toe segment. But first, before we get into boxing, we'd like to address what is going on in the U.S. today. We've all seen what transpired with George Floyd and his killings at the hands of a Minneapolis policeman. Mike and I had a long conversation about it yesterday. We're so deeply disturbed that it's really hard to talk about anything else, even though we must. It's been difficult even to put my boxing notes together for this.
It's difficult to do anything. Really. I mean, I just keep drifting off into what's going on. I was trying to think of the word to describe this and didn't come up with the perfect word, but I just thought heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking, from obviously most heartbreaking over what happened to George Floyd, but then it goes on and on. I'm outraged over what happened to this man, as I believe any right thinking person must be. I don't see how you could watch that and then learn what we learned afterward, the details, and not be outraged. It was beyond crazy, evil. It's just horrible. And of course, I understand the anger. I can't put myself in the shoes of a black person, but the feeling of being under attack and then not being heard when you raise that issue must be just agonizing and infuriating. So to me, it just makes perfect sense. We just have to do better as a country. I don't support the violence, the looting, but I think that's largely the work of those who are exploiting the protests for their own benefits. And the shame, the heartbreak, as far as that's concerned, is now that's drowning out the message of the protesters, which is so important. I just pray for peace, and I pray that we do better.
Right. And I think that's ultimately what it boils down to, right? Obviously everyone is outraged, or should be outraged. Now we need to concentrate on what the solution is. We need to identify what can be done to make things better going forward, if there is something that can be done. I know a lot of people are feeling helpless, feeling hopeless right now, but we're here in this world, and we have to try and find a way. Now, here at PBC, we are all about the fighters. It's not about us. So with that in mind, we welcome someone who's been keeping a close watch on the proceedings, and he has a lot that he wants to share. Two-time world welterweight champion, Andre Berto. Andre, first question, how are you and your family doing?
Me and my family were good. Of course, I got everybody, tucked away, right now when it comes to, just everything that's going on. So, but everybody's good. Everybody's good. Everybody in Florida is good. The family here in LA is good. And everything's okay.
I thought you had some family in New York as well. Is that right? You mentioned
I do have
LA.
family in New York. Yeah.
They're doing okay?
Yeah, I got some family in New York. We tapped in with them. Everybody's okay on that side as well.
That's good. We've got a lot to unravel here. So let's start with where this recent saga began, and that's with the death of George Floyd. What were your thoughts initially on what happened?
To be honest, when I got the video, I watched it, and I was just disgusted by it. To be honest, just to be able to see a man of so-called authority in a position to just protect us, as civilians, to put so much of, pressure on with his knee when it comes to a man that was helpless already. He was laying down already. He had his, he had his arms behind his back, handcuffed. and just to be able to apply that type of pressure, on him while he's crying out, for help, while he's crying out for his mother, while he's crying out, just from any type of assistance. You've already got a guy on the ground, like in handcuffs, and actually, as we found out, he had 2 or 3 other officers on the other side of that car, holding him down and just doing whatever they were doing to him. But for 8 to 9 minutes, being in a place to see a man helpless and watch him, him ask for, he couldn't breathe and just ask for help and just so he can get his knee off his neck, and to actually watch him be in a position of someone that's living and just trying to beg for his life, to actually see it get taken in front of us. And this police officer with no remorse, just looks like it was just all just nasty, just malice and nasty, just cruelness, the way he just kept leaning into him as he begged for his life. You know what I mean? And it was just caught on camera, for the world to see. And it was just a perfect example where we stood, as a people, when it comes to, certain races. It puts you in a space of understanding still how evil just like other human beings are, to other human beings. Yeah. And just being a police officer, of course, a man of, just trying to kill a man of color, it's terrible.
Yeah. Have you ever had any experiences like that in your own life? Obviously not to that extent, but anything that you can share?
Of course, I've been in situations where I got pulled over, for having a nice car. I get pulled over. I got pulled over a handful of times. Driving a nice car in a nice neighborhood. And I've got profiled, plenty of times just by just being in the wrong place of what they believe and they perceive to see a young black man driving either a Rolls Royce or having, nice things and being profiled in a certain space. And the thing with me is, I'm just not always in the hood, or I'm just not always around, just my black, people. I converse and I handle business in different areas where a lot of rich white people are. And I have a lot of those great relationships as well, the way I conduct business, and I always get profiled all the time, because I'm young, black, and it looks like I'm not supposed to be there.
Andre, there's been a lot of outrage over what happened for obvious reasons. This one seems more than anything that I could remember, that I know of. What do you think it is behind this anger that's made it this big?
This right here feels different. I got a chance to speak to a few other friends of mine, some celebrity friends of mine as well that have been in LA during the LA riots and other situations that have happened. This one feels different. It feels heavy. It feels like there's somewhat of a shift as well. The people are just tired. And now, of course, it makes it worse because, like, this isn't. Yeah, like I said, this situation here just feels different. And like I said, I hopped on the phone with a few other, friends of mine and, celebrity friends of mine that are just heavy, influencers, out there. And, a lot of the ones that they've been around during the LA riots and things like that. And they say the same. This shit feels different. It feels heavy. And it doesn't make it any better. Well, I'll tell you the situation is. These are situations that aren't new. They've been going on, but now these police officers, they have a real issue because these camera phones are catching everything, and they're just throwing it in front of people's faces now. So now the outrage continues to boil over. You're talking about a people, I don't care what they say, that we're not too far removed from the real oppression of our great grandparents. You know what I mean? Like, it's still a stain there. It's still a pain there that, that we really want to be in a place to have this equality that they speak about, that this country speaks about. You know what I mean? We don't want to have to keep resorting back to what our history looked like. We get tired of looking in the mirror on what the history of us being here and the things that we've been through actually look like. And once we see something like that, that automatically directs us to that place. You understand? So it's the fact of the people of color, us, we're just tired of continue seeing this battery and this space of not getting treated the same. But now we have more voice, of course, with social media and a lot of other influences that we have, and they get tired of the marching, get tired of the speeches. When you get people that have been hurt for a long time and they don't get a chance to really speak and see change, or market, or really try to march and see change, they don't know how to vent correctly. They just start fucking shit up. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm trying to do my friends.
Okay. That's okay.
They just start, we just start destroying things to see if you're going to hear us. Now we're in a position, of course it's not all good. It's not all right. I mean, we're destroying a lot of property, destroying a lot of this, and destroying a lot of that. Now we're getting their attention, and it's unfortunate, but now we're getting their attention. Before, we can march, we can say these things and you have these speeches, and it's forgotten about in a week. Now, you know why? We're destroying the American dollar now. We're messing up the money. So now they have to listen to it. You understand? It's sad that it has to be that way.
I was going to ask you about the looting and the destruction that you just mentioned. Some people think it sort of obscures the message, but you're saying it's maybe part of the solution.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't want it to. I think that's that's where the media comes in. I mean, they can really, let me change the narrative to anything if they want. You know what I mean? I mean, like, the media can I think it's their job that they stay on the real issue, on what's going on. The reason why, people are here protesting, people are here enraged, people are out here looting and just acting up, period. Stay on what the true issue is. And I think it's important that we continue to push the narrative of where it needs to be. Of course, it's a lot of different ways to try to get off topic, but it's the reason why we're at this place.
Yeah. And Andre, what would you like to see done long term? What do you think is the solution that can really affect change going forward?
I mean, I believe the main thing right now, I mean, it's rough because we have a president that's in office right now that us as black people, we seen modern day lynching on camera in front of everybody. And we want justice when it comes to these police officers. We don't care if they're police officers. You know what I mean? We don't care. They need to get the same repercussions that regular civilians have. And I believe that if they continue to wait and they don't charge or prosecute these police officers, this is going to continue to go on. And we're dealing with a president right now that I can tell that he doesn't want to be, he wants to show his strength. He has a lot of pride, and he doesn't want to be handled a certain type of way by these protesters. And I think that he's not going to do the right thing. I don't think he's going to do the right thing. I think he's going to try to push his power just to try to be able to be in a place to show everyone that he can stop the looting. And that's going to be dangerous if it's not done correctly. if it's not done correctly. We just want justice for the death of Mr. Floyd. And I believe everything it'll stop. It'll stop right now, but of course we still have a lot of steps to getting to a position of change. But one thing that I have seen with this that is different is it's not just black people out here, fighting and looting and protesting. It's not which I thought it was going to be, a race war. At the end of the day, it seems like now, just by me seeing this stuff and actually being out in the streets, it's a 50-50 situation. It's going to be the people versus the government. You know what I mean? I mean, it's turning into that situation. Every time I turn on TV or I'm out in the streets, I see as many white kids and Asians and all this, just as many black people out here, protesting and fighting alongside each other. So it's going to turn into it can easily turn into a crazy situation if it's not handled correctly. It's already getting out of hand.
Yeah, and you said it. It could turn into a crazy situation. Andre, in closing, with that in mind, what would you tell those people who are protesting right now? What would you tell those people who are angry? What would you tell anyone who is listening to this who has some sort of feeling regarding what's happening?
It's tough because, I don't like what's happening, but at the end of the day, I am a black man, and I understand our history. I understand the pain of the oppression. I understand the reason why we were brought over here to this country to help build it. And I understand the position that we've continued to be looked at when it comes to just the color of our skin and the fact that there is white supremacy still going on. It's tough. It's tough because I'm angry too. So it's almost tough to tell people how to vent.
Yeah.
And personally for myself, it's hard for me to tell people how to vent. Don't do that. Or you can do this. Don't do that. Because everybody's an individual person and they're taking it, however that way they're going to take it. But all I got to do is just sit back and pray about it, speak about it, to a lot of my peers. And we just try to find our own solution. And, hopefully, we have to send everybody to these polls and continue to try to vote, try to get the right people that we need, like in office, so they'll be able to make the right decision moving forward. Because if they don't, this is going to continue to happen. This is going to continue to happen. And one thing that I did see on a post that hit me pretty, heavy, it says that America needs to be happy that blacks only want equality and they don't want revenge. You know what I mean? And that's something that's you gotta take into consideration as well. So and like I said, we'll see what happens. I'm praying for everybody. I hope we see justice here soon, because I believe if we have justice when it comes to these police officers, everything will slow down, everything will stop. For right now. And, that's the first step. And then from that point on, we move forward and see the changes that we need to make as a nation to bring true, equality.
Andre, I think you nailed it. Thank you so much for taking the time out to talk about this and to talk to us and to talk to the people. We wish you and your family safety, health, and you guys stay strong.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Andre.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Again, we want to thank Andre Berto for joining us. It's just such crazy times we live in right now. So we're just going to keep monitoring the situation closely, and we pray that justice is served and we find a real solution to this issue. All right, let's get back to boxing, difficult as it may be. We've got Terrell Gausha on deck, ready to talk to us. But before we speak to him, I wanted to discuss a bit of news last week, and that's the Forbes highest paid athletes list. For those who missed it, Forbes' list is from June 2019 to June 2020, and 4 boxers made the cut. 3 of them, heavyweights. Tyson Fury was number 11 with 57 million. Fellow heavyweights Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder were numbers 19 and 20, only $500,000 separating them. And Canelo Alvarez was number 30. Were you surprised by anything on this list, Mike?
Well, I was struck by the fact that boxing had no one in the top 10. But I realized that also happened in 2017, 2016, as well as 2013. Also, excuse me. Also, the impact of the coronavirus pandemic has really screwed things. Screwed and skewed. I meant to say the word skewed, but also screwed. For example, as you mentioned, Canelo Alvarez is number 30, but he would have fought in May. So if you include his purse in May, which I'm just guessing would have been about the same as it was against Kovalev, which was 30 million plus, he would have been in the top 10. I think he would have been number 7. It goes beyond, and a lot of other sports are also affected by this. For example, there's only one baseball player in the top 100, and that's because their season hasn't started, so they're not getting paid right now, I guess, is how they did it. So it's really kind of a mess this year. So it sort of is what it is. One more thing that stood out to me is that there are no Floyd Mayweathers and Manny Pacquiao's. If you go over the list over the last, I started in 2012. Mayweather topped the list 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Pacquiao was in the top 10 1, 2 times. Nobody else except Canelo last year. Canelo was number 4 last year, $94 million. So, I mean, just strictly on what we see from Forbes, I guess Canelo is sort of the heir apparent, but there's a big gap between him and what Mayweather and Pacquiao commanded.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because I hear a lot of talk about Canelo being the face of boxing. And in a calendar year, as you pointed out, he may be the biggest money maker, but I'm not so sure he's the face of the sport. I don't know if there's anyone who has that. Maybe Mayweather is still the face of boxing, or Pacquiao since he's active. I think Canelo's been kind of hindered by not being on TV. But I do think that this list vindicates Deontay Wilder. I recall when he was offered that 3-fight $100 million deal by DAZN that would have included a fight with Dominic Brazil, and then 2 fights versus Anthony Joshua. Obviously, there were a lot of issues with that deal, how much Joshua was making, which wasn't divulged. Had Joshua even signed on to fight Wilder? And why would Wilder have to sign a deal with that platform to get the fight if Joshua didn't have to sign an exclusive deal with that platform? All rational reasons for not taking the deal. And it turned out to be a wise decision, because he wouldn't have seen half that money in that deal anyway, because the Joshua fights wouldn't have happened. Joshua got knocked out by Ruiz and then had to have the rematch, which would have left Wilder to fight maybe a Derek Chisora or Dillian White or something like that, but not a Tyson Fury or a Luis Ortiz, significantly better fights and better paying. So kudos to Wilder, and kudos to the rest of the guys on the list. Hopefully we get some more names on there in the future. All right, let's hop into our first interview. He is a 2012 Olympian and a rising 154-pound contender, Terrell Gausha. So first things first, how are you and your family doing?
Well, we doing real good. Despite all the stuff that's going on, we healthy. And we doing all right.
What's the climate like over there in California with all the protests that have been taking place these past few days?
It's a little different. They set up a little curfew now, so they got police all on the streets. It's a little different, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, now, what are your thoughts on the situation? What transpired with George Floyd and everything that's taken place afterward?
I just feel like people fed up. I feel like people tried every other way and just come out at just people being fed up, and then rest in peace to George Floyd, and my condolences to his family.
Well, what do you think must be done in order for things to change? I know that's a big question.
Yeah, it's a big question. I ain't really sure, and I don't have the right words right now, so I'm gonna just leave it there.
Okay. We're also dealing with the coronavirus pandemic at the same time. Has that stopped you from working out in any way, or you've been able to stay fit?
It kind of slowed it down as far as working out in the gyms, because we're trying to stay safe. I got a little boy, and I don't want to, I'm trying to keep him safe and healthy. But I do have it set up to where it's just me, my coach, and it's like 3 people in the gym where I can work out. And I've just been running, trying to keep myself fit, because it's our job. We can't let ourselves go in this time. But it has been a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, the last time we saw you in the ring was May 2019, when you and Austin Trout fought to a 10-round split decision draw. A lot of people thought you won that fight.
Yeah, well, I definitely know that I won that fight. It's just I didn't get the decision, and it'd be like that sometimes. I'm not the first person. I probably won't be the last, but it's boxing. I just learned something from the fight, and it was a good fight for me. I learned a lot.
Yeah, I agree. It was a real impressive performance from you. Do you attribute that to the changes you made following your 2017 loss to Erislandy Lara?
Yeah, absolutely. Lara, he was the first southpaw I faced in my career. He was crafty, the craftiest southpaw too.
Yeah.
That, and I just think at that time, he was just a better man. But I learned something from it, and after that, I requested another southpaw and another southpaw. And as you know, I was trying to fight another southpaw, but I end up unfortunately getting injured, and that's just. But of course, I learned a lot from fighting Lara, and hopefully one day we can do it again to avenge that loss.
Now, you said you were supposed to fight another southpaw. Who was that? Erickson Lubin, or what? Who are you referring to?
That was Erickson Lubin. I was scheduled to fight him, but I ended up getting injured. Breaking my hand and stuff like that. I had surgery, so that didn't take place. But hopefully, I can get him next. That's the only fight I want right now.
Yeah, I see you guys been having a lot of back and forth on social media and stuff. What's that? Can you tell us what that's all about?
Yeah, he just talked a little too much. He one of them social media guys. I'm more so like, I tell you to your face type of guy. But that's the way how a lot of these fighters doing it. And he just came with a lot of disrespect. He tried to he tried to act like I was ducking him because I got injured and stuff like that. As we all know, I don't duck no fights. Come on, I'm Olympian. He gotta show respect.
What changes did you make following the fight with Lara?
I just tightened up on my game. I watched the fight a lot of times with me and Lara, and I just tightened up on my game because that was the first time I was faced a southpaw in my career. Well, matter of fact, that was the second time. The first time I fought a southpaw, I stopped him in 1 round. So I just learned how to, I did camps following that with all left-handed fighters, and I just tightened up on it, and I improved my some things with training, and basically just got more focus on just fighting a left-handed fighter because I hadn't fought one.
Can you tell us what's difficult about fighting a southpaw?
Well, and it's difficult because you haven't seen it. Most of the time you fight other people like yourself, right-handed people. But I would say with him, our styles didn't match up because I'm more of a patient fighter. He very patient, one of the most patient fighters I fought. So it's kind of like a snooze fest. It was like it was like we both was waiting and wanted a lot of action, and he don't care about the boos. I mean, it was hard to
Right.
It was hard to really get to him.
Well, what's it been like working with Manny Robles?
I've been with Manny Robles ever since 2011. We was with the WSB, so I think like when I came out here to California, I was coming from Cleveland. It was just different atmosphere. I was getting a lot of great work, and I was training a little bit better. And he just a tough coach. He put in all the work with you. He make you train. He not gonna put you in the fight if you're not in shape. He just one of them zero tolerance type of coach, and that's what I needed.
You were part of the 2012 Olympic team, as you just alluded to. That team included Errol Spence Jr., Clarissa Shields, Marcus Brown, Dominic Brazil, Jermall Herring, Rashi Warren, Jojo Diaz, Jose Ramirez, a lot of really good fighters. What was it like being part of such a talented group?
To me, it was like I was blessed to be around all the fighters, because they inspire me. It's a lot of them that's world champions right now. I knew they would become world champions just by seeing their work ethic, seeing their skills. I learned a lot from a lot of them guys. It was a blessing to be around them guys. And still to this day, we keep in touch. It's like family,
That's awesome. Was there any of those fighters considered to be the best?
It was so much talent on the team. I don't know if one fighter was considered to be the best. It was just, to me, everybody was talented in their own way, But I mean, it was people that stuck out, like Clarissa Shields, Errol Spence, even Jose Ramirez. They had a great work ethic.
Oh. Now, you mentioned that they've won world titles. Do you feel like you're the next one up to win a world title?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm gunning for. It's been a long road. I've had my ups and downs in this game, but I'm still here. I never took a step back or quit or gave up. So I'm right there. I'm knocking at the door. I just need the fights to prove it. I think now is the time to go with all the big fights. It's no point to wait. I don't need a tune-up or anything like that. Even though I've been off for over a year, I want to step right back in there.
Now, the 154, that division is, stacked with so many great names. Aside from yourself, who do you think is the best 154-pounder in the world?
Like you said, it's a lot. It's a stacked division. So, it's a lot of potential fights. And in our division, everyone's took a loss, so you can't say which one the best. It's just styles make fights, and whoever fight each other, it's just you got to fight to see who the best.
Yeah, indeed. Styles definitely make fights, and one fight that's been talked about a lot is Jermall Charlo versus Jason Rosario, a unification. How do you see that playing out?
I would. For me, I would pick Charlo to win that fight. I think Rosario he's strong. He he's very strong, and Charlo's strong as well. But I think he's a little bit more well-rounded than Rosario, because he has been stopped before. Charlo hasn't been stopped. He got a pretty good chin, so I would lean towards Charlo to win that fight.
Interesting. So when do you plan to return to the ring?
As soon as possible. As soon as they let all these hoes up, as soon as possible. Whenever they allow us to get a date, I'm up. So hopefully maybe August or at the latest September.
Have any have any names been thrown out as far as who you might fight next, or is that completely up in the air?
For me, I only I want Lubin because I think it's a good fight for me. He's a young guy. I'm young too, but I'm be 33 this year, so I'm considered a little bit older. But I wanna fight him with all the talk back and forth. Let's just see. Let's get in there and see who the best, And that's the fight that I was scheduled to fight before I got injured. So let's just see. Let's just see what to talk about.
We like it. Terrell, listen, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us. We hope to have you back soon, and please be safe out there.
Oh, yeah, man. I appreciate you reaching out to me. Thank you.
We got it. Take care.
Take care.
Yep.
Okay, we are back, and it's time for Mike and I to go toe-to-toe. The topic this week is the PBC Top 5 under 25. We're going to share our ranking of the top 5 PBC fighters under the age of 25 today. Lots of candidates here we discovered. So, Mike, why don't you start things off with your number 5?
Okay, my number 5 is, I went with a power puncher, Jesus Ramos, only 19 years old. He's 12-0 with 11 knockouts. And it's basically his power. The guy can really crack. He's a good boxer who I think will only continue to get better. He has to get better if he wants to do anything significant in this business, and I think he will. He's a southpaw, which doesn't hurt. And most importantly, he can hurt you with both hands. Everyone needs to check out his knockout of Ricky Edwards, 1 punch and out. It was pretty impressive.
That was brutal.
Yeah, pretty dramatic. That kind of power is hard, if not impossible, to teach. I think he could be a player if he continues to develop in terms of his fundamentals.
Yeah, I like that. I like that name, and I can't wait to see how he develops as well. Now, I'm going to preface, before I get into my number 5, my list by saying that I went a totally different route as far as who I opted to place on the list. I decided not to choose anyone who had won a belt of any kind. I looked at my top 3 and figured we'd pretty much have the same names. So maybe this switches it up somewhat. But number 5 on my list is the 2019 PBC Prospect of the Year, according to fans, and that is Michigan's own Joey Spencer. Now, Spencer is 20 years old. He's been groomed for the spotlight, groomed for the big moments. He's been trained by his father, Jason. But while he was in the amateurs, he spent a significant amount of time with Andre Ward and Virgil Hunter. He's worked closely with other champions as well, guys like Andre Berto, Peter Quillen, and Amir Khan. And as a pro, he's had a lot on his plate early on. I think he's been fighting on TV pretty much since day one. So as far as that goes, I'd say so far so good. I mean, he's 10-0 with 7 knockouts at 154 pounds. He had a tough outing versus Akeem Black last June, but he rebounded nice with a KO win over Travis Gambardella. I'd like to see Spencer work on his conditioning and pacing himself more. I think that's an area where he can improve, and if he can do that, then the sky's the limit. All right, let's move to number 4. Who you got?
I'm going with none other than our, I believe, 2-time guest, Vito Mielnicki. He's only 18 years old. Listen, it's way too early to predict how Vito might do in the long term, but I like the ingredients that I see. He reportedly was 147-22 as an amateur, and he also sparred with a lot of big-name fighters, literally as a kid. As a kid, he sparred with some really big-name guys, so he has that solid foundation. He's quick, he's athletic, not to mention very marketable, personable kid. I think he's got some power. He turned pro at 17 years old, which will give him plenty of time to grow. His body isn't even mature yet. I think it's all there. I just sort of think we have to wait and see how it develops. Yeah,
I love Vito Mielnicki, and I think he could be a player at 147 if he stays at 147. He's pretty big for that weight. Maybe he's at 154 by the time he moves into contention, but I like what I've seen from him so far. Now, my number 4 is Omar Juarez. I mean, this kid is special in and out of the ring. Let's start with out of the ring. He's done so much for Brownsville, Texas, where he's from. He's an active community leader. He dedicates a lot of his time to speaking to children in Brownsville, motivating, encouraging them. In fact, he's spoken to over 35,000 kids this far. And again, this guy's 20 years old. He's received recognition from the Texas State Senate, the Texas House of Representatives, the city of Brownsville, the city of San Benito, and the Cameron County Commissioner's Court for his work at schools in his community. I can't say enough about what he does outside the ring. And inside the ring, he's a pretty nasty dude, man. I mean, he fights like a vet, composed, but he's got a real mean streak in there. He's 7-0 with 4 knockouts, and I believe he'll be world champion at 140 pounds and will eventually go up to 147, where he could win a title as well. All right, time for number 3. Who's got that slot on your list?
Okay, people obviously will recognize this name, Erickson Lubin, who's 24. Honestly, I didn't even realize he was under 25, but here we are.
So young.
Right. It's easy to forget how young he is. He had his nightmare in October of 2017 when he was knocked out by 154-pound title holder Jermall Charlo in the first round. He's only 22 years old. Everybody saw that. That kind of setback can break some fighters, and has. Others can become better fighters when they endure something like that. I think Lubin seems to be in that latter group to me. He's won 4 straight since the loss, including stoppage of Ishe Smith and a one-sided decision over Nathaniel Gallimore in his last fight. I would say he's a better fighter than he was before Charlo, but I understand when people say the jury's still out, so we'll see. But that everything's there in terms of talent.
Yeah, I think he is a better fighter than when he fought Jermall Charlo. You can see the work he's done with Kevin Cunningham. He's more patient. He's a better boxer from the outside. The power was always there, but I like the composure that I'm seeing from him now and the way he sets up his shots. Obviously, Cunningham has a lot of experience with southpaws. Corey Spinks, he raised into a world champion. Devin Alexander into a world champion. I think he's got another one with Erickson Lubin. Now, my number 3 is a bad man. He's a 22-year-old southpaw light heavyweight from Cuba. His name is David Morrell. Now, let me tell you how much belief Morrell's handlers have in this guy. Again, he's only 22, and he's had all of 2 pro bouts. Yet, prior to the pandemic, he was scheduled to face a 22-0, extremely dangerous Lennox Allen for the WBA interim super middleweight title. Now, Vasily Lomachenko fought for a world title in his second pro bout, but he was 26 years old and pretty much in his prime. Morrell, on the other hand, he did have a pretty impressive background from the Cuban School of Boxing. He went 135-2 as an amateur, and I expect his pro career to be equally impressive. I was really interested in seeing how he would look against Lennox Allen. I was stunned that they made that fight, but I think that tells you a lot about him. So he's certainly one to watch once boxing resumes. I can't wait to see if that fight is put back on. Okay, we're getting closer to number 1 here. So, Mike, who is your first runner-up?
Okay, my number 2 is, again, probably no surprise to a lot of people, Chris Colbert, 23 years old. Loaded with talent. He reportedly was 103-3 as an amateur, and I didn't realize this, but he was actually, I think, in the lead to fight in the 2016 Olympics, but he decided to turn pro instead. He just got, he had mentioned the word politics, and he just got a little fed up, and he said, "Okay, I'm turning pro." He's a switch hitter. He's got crazy speed, skills, ring acumen, really smart fighter, especially for such a young fighter. Ray Mancini compared him to Pernell Whitaker. Now, that might be a little bit of a stretch at this point because of Whitaker's greatness. He's one of the greatest of all time. But you get an idea of how he's perceived. And his performances, I think, haven't fallen off at all as he's moved up in opposition. He acknowledges that he doesn't have a tremendous amount of power, but I think he's got some, and I don't think that's going to hold him back anyway. Really great prospect.
Yeah, and who knows, that power could increase as he gets, stronger and continues to grow into his man strength, as he would say. Now, my number 2 has no issues as far as power and strength, and he's a 24-year-old lightweight by the name of Rolando Romero. Those who know. The kid fights out of Mayweather Boxing Club. In fact, we saw some recent footage of him training with Floyd Mayweather during this pandemic. Raleigh made a name for himself in those gym wars at Mayweather Boxing Club. He beat down Ryan Garcia in sparring. You can check it out. It's on YouTube. He's powerful, brash, very, very good, and isn't shy to tell you about it. Now, as a professional, Romero's 11-0 with 10 knockouts. Last year, he delivered what could have been the KO of the year when he straight up flattened Andres Figueroa. For those who haven't seen it, you can also check that out on YouTube as well. Let me know what you think. I'd like to see him continue to work on refining his technique. He didn't have much of an amateur career, but with his natural gifts, he'll go as far as he wants to. Now it is time for number one. Mike, the floor is yours.
Okay, as you mentioned, we went a little bit different directions here. We didn't really discuss parameters too much, but I think it's fine. So I just basically went with the 5 guys under 25 I thought had the brightest future. So number one for me is pretty obvious. David Benavidez is only 23 years old. The fact he's 22-0 with 19 knockouts, already a 2-time super middleweight title holder at 23 says a lot. And he didn't beat some guy, to regain the title. He beat Anthony Durrell to win the second title. This is a bad young man. He's a big, strong 160-pounder who will walk you down and hurt you. And as you've pointed out to me, I think both on and off the pocket, he's also got a real strong skill set. Maybe that's a little bit underrated. Now, he did have a slip-up. He tested positive for cocaine in 2018. He lost his title as a result. Now, we've spoken to him about that, and I think he's learned his lesson. He's grown from that experience. If he has, and again, I think he has, if he keeps his head on straight, I think his ceiling is very, very high. And plus, on top of everything else, he's really fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's clearly number one. Like I was saying, I figured our top 3 would be pretty similar, and with Benavidez being number one, that's why I kind of decided to go a different route. One person I want to mention, actually, that isn't on any of our lists, it appears, is Brandon Figueroa, who's another really good young fighter. He holds a title at 122 pounds, and we'll see how far he comes along. Now, my number one, the top guy on my list, is fast closing in on a world title shot. I believe he's ready, and that's 22-year-old Michel Rivera. Rivera had a rough upbringing in the Dominican Republic, fell in love with boxing, and eventually moved to the U.S., where he's trained by German Caicedo in Florida. Those of you who aren't familiar with Caicedo, he also is the longtime trainer of Luis Ortiz, and he raves about Rivera's work ethic. The kid's tall, he's lengthy, at lightweight, and he's got excellent fundamentals plus power in both fists. And one thing you'll notice about him is that although he's got a baby face, he's like 15, but you watch him fight, he doesn't fight like he's 21 years old at all. He's got that veteran's poise, something that you develop from spending countless hours in the ring, and I think it speaks to the kind of work he's putting outside of the lights. Now, you look at what he did in June 2019, I believe, versus Rene Guiron. He dropped Guiron and won a comfortable unanimous decision. Who is Guiron, you ask? Well, he's the guy who knocked out 2016 Olympian Carlos Balderas in stunning fashion last December. So I think Rivera could be downright scary at 135 between him, Rolando Romero, Gervonta Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. That division is going to be stacked, and I wouldn't be surprised if Rivera ended up being the last man standing. All right, that concludes this week's toe-to-toe segment. It's time for our next interview with longtime middleweight contender and world title challenger Sergiy Derevyanchenko. We've got joining us longtime middleweight contender Sergiy Derevyanchenko, and also translating for us Vladimir Lik. So, Sergiy, our first question to you is, first, how are you and your loved ones doing?
Как ваша семья сейчас?
Сейчас мы нормально. Мы 2 месяца были в апстейте Нью-Йорке, в горах, и как раз переждали там карантин, и вот сейчас вернулись в Бруклин. Все отлично.
We're doing really well. Spent the past 2 months in upstate New York, in the countryside, really enjoying the best that we could do with our quarantine up there in the quiet, and we just returned back to Brooklyn recently.
What's it like in Brooklyn right now? Obviously, we have the pandemic. We also have the protests going on. Have you seen any of that? Has that affected you in any way?
как там в Бруклине сейчас, сейчас там много там пустует сейчас, и там все такие проблемы. Вы что-то сами видели в ваших глазах?
Ну, я в таком районе живу, и там в моем районе все тихо, и я не видел, только вижу по новостям.
Where I'm living in our neighborhood, we didn't really see anything like that, but we're obviously following it on the news like everyone else.
Sergey, have you been able to work out? How are you keeping fit during these times?
Вы можете как бы заниматься, и как вы продолжаете вашу тренировку в это время?
Ну, да, я поддерживаю физическую форму. Когда мы были в апстейте, там были горы, я бегал постоянно, ну и старался держать себя в форме. Бегал, на велосипеде ездил большие дистанции.
Yeah, I always try to stay in good physically fit and form. When we were upstate, a lot of mountains up there, so I did a lot of running up the hills. I also did bike riding, and I rode bike for a very, very long distance. So I always try to stay in the best shape I can.
Nice.
Да, сейчас я вернулся и сейчас начал так заходить в зал. У моего соседа есть в гараже зал, и он мне его открывает, и я там как бы тренируюсь по физике.
Now that I'm back home, I'm actually starting to go back into the gym. Got some close folks around me that own a gym that let me in, and I'm able to start getting back to my routine, boxing routine.
Great. Now, remind us, did you have a fight lined up before the coronavirus pandemic set in?
Хотели знать, прежде как это все началось с коронавирусом, вы имели как бы соперник уже был готов или пока нет?
Нет, пока не было соперника перед этим, и соперника не было.
No, at the time of the quarantine, I did not have a lined up.
Okay. Any idea when you might return?
Вы знаете, какое-то число, когда вы думаете, вы вернете?
Что?
Какое-то число, когда вы вернете иметь соперника, соперника.
Знал ли я, кто приблизительно будет?
Ну, число какое-то, вы дали какое-то время, число, когда вы можете...
Число, обещали в мае сделать бой. Я приехал в феврале с Украины и начал чуть тренироваться и готовиться на май, и вот пандемия, карантин, и все закрылось.
А сейчас ничего не говорили, что будет следующий, какой месяц, может быть, июнь, сентябрь, ничего не говорили?
Сентябрь.
Okay. Actually, before I came back to the U.S., there was talk that I might have a fight in May, but there was no opponent. And obviously, when the pandemic hit, that was not going to be possible. Now we're circling around September.
Now, Sergey, you haven't fought since last October when you lost a close decision to Gennady Golovkin. You suffered a serious cut over your right eye during that fight. Has the cut healed, and will it be an issue for you going forward?
Последний бой с Головкиным у вас был, это вот рама в правый глаз. Как этот глаз сейчас чувствует, и какие-то проблемы сейчас будут в следующий бой с вашим глазом?
С глазом все в порядке, и эта рана зажила, и я уже ее как давно не чувствую. Не чувствую никакой проблемы, и все в порядке.
Yeah, actually, it healed very fast. It healed fine, and it's actually been a long time since I even felt anything, relating to my eye. So I feel really good about it.
A lot of people thought you won the fight versus Golovkin. What were your thoughts on what happened?
Много людей думают, что вы выиграли этот бой с Головкин. Как вы это чувствуете сейчас? И что вы думаете было в этом бое? Если вы думаете, вы выиграли или нет?
Я его смотрел, вот у меня как раз время было смотреть этот бой, я смотрел, и да, это был ровный бой, как бы, но я думаю, что да, я выиграл его.
I've had some time to go back and watch it, and I felt it was really close, but I do feel that I won that fight.
Okay, so even though you lost that fight, I'm comfortable in saying you gained a tremendous amount of respect in terms of public opinion. How much does that mean to you?
Как это для вас значит? И что для вас значит, что много людей, которые смотрят фанаты бокс, после этого боя просто сейчас уважают вас и еще даже больше. И те, которые вас не знали, то сейчас и тоже уважают вас. Как вы там могли с ним справиться?
Повторите еще раз вопрос.
Да. Как вы чувствуете это, что все, которые смотрели бокс и даже много по вас не знали, сейчас просто вас просто уважают, как вы там себя показывали в этом бою с Головкиным?
Ну да, этот бой я подготовился хорошо, я выступил хорошо, и моя популярность стала больше.
It means a lot to me. I know that my popularity increased from that fight, but I trained so hard for that fight. I prepared so hard for that fight, and I feel very good with my performance.
Yeah, that was something.
И как я с этим справляюсь, я справляюсь обычно. Это был бой в октябре. Сейчас у меня это уже как бы история, и я тренируюсь еще тяжелее и буду еще тяжелее, чтобы доказать, что выиграть пояс и доказать, что я чемпион.
Yeah, that fight was in October, and while it's in the back right now and it's behind me, it's just so much motivation to even work harder to prove to everyone that I do belong with that competition and that I am a world champion.
Yeah, I think he proved that. I think after that fight, especially, I think people think of Sergiy as this super fit, super tough guy with incredible fighting spirit. But as we know, he's got a deep amateur background. He's got a really polished skill set. How do you see yourself? How would you describe yourself as a fighter?
Что вы можете, как вы можете про себя рассказывать как боксер? Все знают, что вы очень такой длинный любительский бокс имеете, много раз дрались, и все про вас знают. Но как вы про вас можете рассказывать как боксер?
Как я рассказываю про себя?
Да.
Ну, я вообще про себя не люблю рассказывать и не люблю, я не знаю, не люблю рассказывать, вот я там такой крутой, или я такой боксер. Я выхожу в ринг и показываю, доказываю свою крутость.
It's hard for me to describe myself because I don't like to talk about myself. What I want to do is I want to go in the ring and show all of you what I do, and then that's the best that I can do. That's the best way I can describe myself is with the action.
That makes sense. One last thing on Golovkin. Why wasn't there a rematch, or what are his thoughts on that?
Что вы думаете насчет рематч? Почему как бы не было сразу рематч с этим Головкиным?
Потому что мы подписали сразу в контракте, было указано, что мы должны после этого боя, кто выиграет в этом бою с Головкиным, и мы должны дать обязательную защиту поляку Шереметьеве. Вот поэтому я думаю, как бы, и вот сейчас Головкин ждет, и он должен дать сначала защиту Шереметьеве, а потом уже там договариваться о других боях.
Yeah, it was in the contract when we signed the fight that actually the winner of this fight was going to fight the mandatory, and that's what Golovkin is going to do right now.
I see. I guess that makes sense. Now, speaking of mandatories, you are the #1 contender to the WBC World Middleweight title, currently held by Jermall Charlo. Is he someone you're targeting?
Вы смотрите на Charlo, он имеет WBC ремень, вы считаете сейчас номер один контендер, вы смотрите на он как соперник на как бы следующий или на какое-то время?
Да, у нас может быть бой, у нас один менеджер Эл Хейман, и нам договориться легче будет, чем нежели с другими боксерами. И я думаю, в скором времени это случится.
Yeah, I think so, and I think in due time that fight will happen. We're both under Al Heyman, so that makes things a lot easier. It's just easier to make a deal. It's easier to negotiate when we're with the same person versus going out with somebody else. So I think in due time that fight will happen.
Now, where do you rank Charlo among the middleweights today? You fought Golovkin, you fought Danny Jacobs. Do you view him as someone at that level, someone better? Where would you place him?
Как вы считаете, Чарло, вы уже дрались с Головкиным, вы дрались с Джейкобсом, вы думаете, он как в их время, он лучше, чем они, или он как бы еще не достал, как они, как боксер? Как вы можете определить Чарло?
Ну, я его определяю, это топовый боксер, он очень сильный, он молодой, и думаю, да, это будет очень хороший бой.
Yeah, I actually view him as a very good fighter. He's very strong. He's young, and I think our fight would make it for a great fight.
Да, может, у него нету такого экспириенса, как у Джейкобса, у Головкина, но у него достаточно боев, и я думаю...
He may not have the deep-seated amateur experience that a Jacobs or a Golovkin has, but he's got enough professional experience at this point that he's totally on their level.
How do you see a fight between yourself and Charlo playing out?
Если вы будете драться с Чарло, как вы думаете, этот бой пройдет?
Как этот бой пройдет?
Да.
Я даже не знаю, не люблю предсказывать, как он пройдет, но думаю, что как бы пройдет пройдет так же красиво, как и эмоционально, как с Головкиным.
I really don't know. I don't like to predict how these fights are going to go before they go, but I feel confident that it will be as entertaining as the Golovkin fight.
Very good. I mentioned your amateur background earlier. You were on one of the great Ukrainian national teams. Guys like Lomachenko and Usyk and Vazdik are on that team. That's really, really special, obviously. What was that experience like, being around so many great fighters in the same place at the same time?
Вы были в этой самой команде с такими большими боксерами, как Ломаченко и Вазdik, и Usyk. Что вы помните с этого времени и что вы можете про это сказать?
Ну, это было хороший период моей жизни, и когда мы были там в лагерях, готовились перед какими-то соревнованиями, сборами, мы всегда смотрели на друг друга и работали. Кто-то, если там уставал, смотрит на другого, тот работает, и друг друга, наверное, как бы мотивировали.
It was a great period, a great time in my life, being on the same team with those guys. When we were in camp together, we had many long camps. It was just great to see the teamwork and the camaraderie, and everyone would observe everyone else. So if someone was working out, someone else that was not working out was observing, and then we found a way to motivate each other.
Okay, here's the big question. Who was considered the best fighter on that team?
So кто был самый лучший боксер на этой команде?
Ну, я думаю,
Lomachenko.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a special fighter.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Doesn't surprise me.
Sergiy, you also fought Usyk in the amateurs, I believe. Do you remember any details from those meetings?
Он говорит, что вы встретились с Усиком, когда вы были любительские, вы там соперники были с Усиком. Что вы что-то помните с этих боев?
Ну, да, мы 2 раза с ним встречались, и да, два раза по счету 1-1. Первый бой он выиграл, второй бой я выиграл. И да, это были такие конкурентные, очень тяжелые, эмоциональные бои. И что он, что я хотел выиграть. И это была как бы путевка на чемпионат Европы, на чемпионат мира там, и на Олимпийские игры. Так что мы как дрались не на жизнь, а на смерть в этих боях.
Yeah, I fought him twice in the amateurs. Both were very hard fights. We're 1-1. He beat me the first time. I beat him the second time. The fights had there were a lot at stake with those fights because not only were European championships on the line or world championships were on the line, but it was a path to the Olympics. So we both knew that we needed to win those fights for our family.
Does Sergey think that Alexander will be a successful heavyweight?
Вы думаете, в тяжелый вес Усик будет чемпион, и это хороший вес для него?
Мы не знаем, как бы, будет ли он чемпионом или не будет, но для него это как бы тоже какой-то там и доказать людям. Многие не верят в него, что он может быть чемпионом, и он он хочет как бы оставить свое имя, свою историю. Но он как бы я знаю, что он трудолюбивый, любит работать, и мы посмотрим, что из этого получится. Ну, я думаю, как бы, что он даст конкуренцию чемпионам.
It's hard to say. I think he will be successful. I could tell you that he works very hard. He loves to work hard. He also likes to prove people wrong, and he loves challenges, and he sees this as a big challenge. So whether or not he becomes a world champion, he's going to give the world champions a fight for their money.
Sergiy, when did you decide to come to the U.S. and what was your reason for making that move?
Когда вы решили первый раз приехать в Америку драться, и почему вы приехали в Америку?
Ну, я до этого был в казахстанской команде Астана Орландс в WBC. И там я уже 4-й год был, и уже там не видел никаких перспектив, и я всегда хотел как бы, профессионала, всегда хотел, не знаю, в Америку и в Америке начать профессиональную свою карьеру. Так оно и получилось.
I was working on the Kazakhstan team, and I was doing very well, but there was really not much else to do, and there was really nowhere else to go. I kind of hit the ceiling there, and it was the right time to turn pro. And even before then, I always imagined fighting as a professional in America, and I would hope that that's the way it would go, and that's exactly how it actually played out.
When it's all, I'm sorry. Does you have anything else?
Yeah. No.
When it's all said and done, Sergiy, what do you want to accomplish?
Когда вы закончите драться в бокс, что вы хотите иметь, как бы, у вас номер один, что вы, это вот сделали, у вас получилось. Что номер один будет для вас?
Номер один, наверное, как и все профессионалы, как и все, кто, это работа, бокс, это как бы твоя работа, ты за это деньги получаешь. Я думаю, как бы не номер один, но заработать с этого денег и стать чемпионом мира.
Yeah, like a lot of professional fighters, we do want to make as much as we can to support our families. So I don't know if my number one achievement, would be the money, but it's up there. In addition to, like a lot of fighters, it's to become a world champion.
Ну и выиграть, я думаю, выиграть тех топовых middleweight'ов. Это Канело, Чарло, Головкин, рематч взять, и всех вот этих топовых боксеров, Юбенк, всех выиграть и оставить свое имя в истории бокса.
I would love to just fight the best in the division and beat them. I want to clean out the middleweight division and leave my name as one of the best in the middleweight division. You got Canelo. I would love a rematch with Golovkin, Eubank, all the big names in the middleweight division. I'd like to fight them and beat them.
Well, we can't wait to see it. Sergiy, thank you so much for your time. We want to wish you and your family health, to be safe, and we can't wait to see you back in the ring.
Okay, thank you. You too.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Thank you, Vlad.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Спасибо.
All right, well, that is it for this week's show. We want to thank Andre Berto for taking the time to speak on a subject that should be close to everyone's heart right now, and to Terrell Gausha and Sergiy Derevyanchenko as well. As always, the PBC podcast is available on the PBC website, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, on and on. Pretty much everywhere you can locate a podcast, you can find ours. So be sure to check us out again next week for more boxing talk right here on the PBC podcast.